And welcome back to Comic Frontline, everybody. I am Brant Fowler, aka the Gonzo Goose, back with you for another important review. This is another all-new, all-different Marvel review, Uncanny Inhumans #1. It's written by Charles Soule, and art is by Jay Leiston, or Liston, however you pronounce that, with inks by Steve McNiven. Steve McNiven. It's interesting that Steve McNiven's name is listed first. I guess he's a I don't know, more popular creator? I'm not sure. It's interesting that the inker is listed first, both in here and on the credits page towards the end of the book. If I can find it real quick, I'll show you guys. Yeah, there you go. I just thought that was kind of interesting that the inker's name was listed first. Colors by Sonny Go, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. And we have covers by Steve McNiven, Jay Leiston, and Justin Ponzer. This looks like the McNiven cover. So this book follows Black Bolt, Reader, and Triton as they are kind of going through time trying to find Black Bolt's son, who he had made a deal with Kang the Conqueror to take his son and kind of protect him by taking him back in time. Because he thought the world was going to be destroyed. Now they've kind of gone back on that deal, and they're trying to find Black Bolt's son. But Kang's not too happy about that, so Kang decides to send them away. One cool thing is, we see the original Adelon, the birthplace of the Inhumans, as it was at the very beginning, which is a beautiful kind of landscape of structures here. A really nice city. This was 13,000 years ago, and I will say this book does a nice job right here. This is page 2 and 3. They do a nice job in a really small panel with Triton, where they kind of basically tell the history of the Inhumans real fast. Triton talks about how the Kree developed them by altering the Homo sapiens, us, genome, and all that stuff. So they give us that kind of backstory, real quick, real tight. So if you're new to Inhumans, you get it's a very vague and a very simple explanation, but you get that kind of background. And they talk about through this issue the Terrigen Mist being released, and how all these new humans are popping up everywhere and stuff like that. So they do give you some backstory. It does somewhat feel like a #1 issue. Even though you're thrown right into the middle of a story, and you kind of do have to pick up the pieces a little bit. That particular part of the story where they're back in time, that's pretty self-explanatory, and Kang kind of messes with them and sends them elsewhere. But then when you get back to the present day, and you have Medusa and the rest, Inferno and Flint and ISO and some others fighting Chitauri, then there's a little bit more information here that you probably needed a little bit of what's the word? You probably needed a little bit of prior knowledge to what was going on with the Inhumans if you've never read any book with any Inhumans in it. They do a decent job of explaining what happened. Again, like I said, they mentioned, Medusa talks about the Terrigen Mist and stuff, and here they're swarmed by reporters asking why they're in New York helping because they have their own island and all this stuff. And and she's like, this world is our world. We're from all these different places and stuff. So I think they did an okay job of catching us up. But like I said, you're thrown in the middle of the story here, which is fine for me. I didn't have a problem with it. The story so far hasn't really grabbed me, though. It looks like Hank McCoy is working with them. There's a shot of the beast. He's working with them to try to find I assume, a cure for what's happening to the mutants, the X-Men and the other mutants, because of the Terrigen Mist. They don't really come out and say that, but it's kind of implied that that is what he's looking for. And Medusa's kind of hesitant about working with him because, after all, he is an X-Men. So, I thought that was an interesting little side story. ISO, which is one of the new humans, she is kind of helping them out. So this first issue in the lead story, there is a backup story. It goes back and forth between Black Bolt's story, where he's in the past, and Medusa's story, where she's in the present, trying to, fight the good fight, as it were. We do see a glimpse of Human Torch as he comes, and as he is making out with Medusa, Black Bolt shows up. He comes back in time, or back to the present, and there's that whole altercation. That's how that lead story actually ends. Spoiler alert, sorry about that. But it's not really that big a deal. Nothing major happens in this issue, quite honestly, and that was a problem for me. It, like I said, it was fine opening introduction to all these characters. Once again, like if you didn't know them, or if you're coming back to this from the previous Inhumans title, you, like I said, you're getting an introduction, and it is a continuation of the overall Inhumanity, Terrigen Mist story, but not a whole lot happens. That's the only problem with it, as far as story-wise. Now, as far as art goes, it's really beautiful art. I showed you the Inhuman City. There was another shot of that right there, and that's New Adelon. And it's really nice artwork technically. Like I said, Beast looks really good. I had a problem with some of the faces, though, quite honestly. Like Medusa's here, okay, in this panel it's okay, this one right here, but then you get this panel and she looks like a completely different person to me. So I mean, there was a little bit of a consistency problem there. Stylistically, it's not my favorite style, but it's not bad art at all. The layouts are really nice. There's some dramatic shots like hydrogen bomb there, and things like that. So overall, I think the art was fine. And then the backup story, you think it's about this guy, Thanos, but it is not about Thanos. It is Flint kind of being trained, and then there's this Agent Frank, and I'm not familiar with him because I don't know if he was in the previous Inhuman series. I fell a few issues behind, didn't finish the series, but he's with Gorgon, and Gorgon's training Flint, and then Frank is going to take Nala and Flint out to find more new humans. They're scattered across the world, and they're trying to track them down. So they go to Morocco, and they find this glass girl. Now there is a problem here. It took me a couple of reads to figure out what was going on, but these pages are actually out of order. Now I think it might just be this one page, but minor spoiler if you don't want to be spoiled on this, to see the girl that they're after and everything. So I'll give you a second to fast forward or come back later. So this page, he addresses the scum, right? Then all of a sudden she's like, "What's happening?" And it's this fight, and I'm like, it's weird. He's jumping in there, and then it backtracks to where he's calling out the scum, and then they start fighting. So I'm thinking that this one particular page got flipped somehow, but that's a pretty, for a #1 issue and this new launch and everything, and they get a page completely flipped, and it kind of bothered me, and it brought my score down for the book. And another thing that brought my score down for the book is this particular story was rather boring. Nala is not the most engaging character, and Flint is kind of stale, and this Frank guy is boring to me. So there was no characters for me to attach to here, nobody to relate to. The only interesting part was at the end, and again, the art, not crazy about that. That is Crystal. I think she's much better illustrated in the other book. But anyway, we see Gorgon talking about his son. I'm not going to say what, but Gorgon, we see him kind of a little bit feeling sorry for himself because he's stuck in this wheelchair. And I don't know where they're going with that. It was a very short, like 2 or 3 panel conversation where that was brought up, and then it was the end. So not a whole lot going on there. We do see that Kang is going to be the focal point of issue 2. So this was an oversized issue, and it was $5, $4.99, because of that backup story. And the backup story I didn't really find interesting. The lead story was okay. I had some story problems, had some art problems, and then there was that whole flipped page. So that kind of really brought my score down, especially for the $5 price point. I really wanted to like this one. Of the two Inhumans stories, for some reason that this is the one that stood out to me, but I'm thinking I'm actually going to like all new Inhumans better. So for Uncanny Inhumans #1, I'm going to have to give it like 2 3/4. I wanted to give it a 3, a solid 3, but the flip page, the more I thought about it, and then that whole backup story, and then the price point and everything just really bothered me. So I can't even give it that solid 3. It's a 2.75. I'm not going to go any lower than that because it is nice art and a decent story for that lead story. So 2.75 for Uncanny Inhumans #1, and that's going to wrap up this review. Check out all the other reviews and all the other content here on Comic Frontline. We'll continue to review these all new, all different Marvel titles as they debut. And of course, we have tons of other content here and on ComicFrontline.com. If you want to check out my stuff, you can check out LastEmberPress.com, Zone4Podcast.com, and if you're in the Tyler, Texas area, about an hour and a half out of Dallas, in that whole general area, I'll be at Rose City Comic Con this weekend, October 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Friday's kind of a preview night. Saturday and Sunday, Lisa and I will be there, and we will have a new book that is actually coming. It's going to be here in our hands tomorrow, and a brand new print that is a con exclusive. So please come and check that out if you are in the area. And until next time, thanks for watching. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of this issue, and I'll see you in the next video.